the mysterious disappearance, the war room fell silent as Commander Vrek stared at the holographic display. 7 red marks floated in the darkness of space. 7 fleets, 7 failures, all gone without a trace. "Show me again," Vrek said, his voice cold and steady. The tactical officer tapped the controls. The display replayed the last known positions of the missing fleets. Each one had entered the zone marked human territory. None had come back. No distress signals, no wreckage, no survivors, just empty space where mighty warships once existed. "How is this possible?" asked General Cross, slamming his fist on the metal table. "The Draken Empire sent 200 ships. The Zelthian Armada sent 300, all gone. Vanished like smoke." Vrek studied the map carefully. His 4 eyes narrowed as he traced the pattern. Every fleet had disappeared near the same sector, a small region of space that humans claimed as their own. "What do we know about these humans?" Vrek asked. The intelligence officer stepped forward looking nervous. "Not much, Commander. They appeared in galactic records only 50 years ago. Small population, limited colonies, primitive weapons by our standards." "Primitive?" Vrek raised his hand, pointing at the 7 red marks. "Does this look primitive to you?" The officer lowered his head. "No, sir." "The Council has given us a mission," Vrek continued. "We will find out what happened to those fleets. We will discover the truth about humanity, and we will return with answers." The room buzzed with whispered conversations. Every officer knew the risk. 7 fleets meant thousands of ships and millions of trained warriors. All lost. What chance did they have? But Vrek's fleet was different. It was the largest battle group ever assembled. 500 warships, the best technology from 12 different species, weapons that could crack planets, shields that could survive stars. "We leave at dawn," Vrek announced. "Prepare the fleet." The journey to human space took 3 weeks. During that time, Vrek couldn't sleep. He spent his nights reviewing old reports and watching recordings, anything that might give him a clue. One night, he visited the station's trading post. He needed to clear his mind. The marketplace was crowded with travelers from across the galaxy. Merchants sold strange foods. Traders argued over prices. Pilots shared stories of distant worlds. In a dark corner, Vrek noticed an old Zelthian trader sitting alone. The alien scales were scarred and broken. His eyes looked haunted, like someone who had seen death and barely escaped. "You're going there, aren't you?" the old trader said, his voice shaking. "To human space." Vrek sat down across from him. "How did you know?" "I can see it in your eyes." That same confidence the others had. The trader poured himself a drink with trembling hands. "I was with the Zelthian Armada. I was there when we entered their territory." Vrek leaned forward. "You survived? How?" "I ran," the trader whispered. "I abandoned my post and ran. They called me a coward, stripped me of my rank. But I'm alive, and my brothers are all dead. Tell me what you saw." The old trader's hands shook harder. "Nothing. That's the horror of it. We saw nothing. One moment our fleet was advancing. The next moment ship after ship just stopped responding. No explosions, no attacks. They just went dark." He pulled out a small data chip and slid it across the table. "This is the last footage from my vessel before I escaped. Watch it." "Maybe you're smarter than we were." Vrek took the chip. "What do you think happened?" The trader stood up, preparing to leave. "Humans don't fight like us, Commander. We charge forward with strength and honor. We follow the rules of war. But humans," he paused at the door, "humans make their own rules, and by the time you understand what they're doing, it's already too late." Back in his quarters, Vrek loaded the data chip. The footage showed the Zelthian fleet approaching a small human outpost. The station looked weak, defenseless, an easy target. The Zelthian ships opened fire. Their weapons struck the station's shields, but something was wrong. The damage was minimal. The station didn't fire back. It just sat there, absorbing the attack. Then the footage turned to static. When it cleared, Vrek saw something impossible. The Zelthian ships were firing at each other. Brother killing brother. The chaos lasted only minutes. When it ended, the entire fleet was destroyed. The last frame showed a simple message in human language. "You attacked first. Remember that." Vrek rewound the footage and watched it again and again. What weapon could turn an entire fleet against itself? What technology could hijack ships in seconds? He didn't sleep that night. 3 days later, Vrek's fleet crossed into human territory. The sensors showed empty space ahead. No defense platforms. No patrol ships. Nothing but silence. Scan for anomalies, Rek ordered. Negative, sir. Space is clear, but Rek didn't believe it. He remembered the trader's words, the footage, the pattern. After 6 hours of travel, they found something. A massive alien warship floating dead in space. It was Draken design, part of one of the missing fleets. Send a team to investigate, Rek commanded. The boarding party returned with disturbing news. The ship's crew was gone. Not dead, gone. The ship showed no battle damage, but inside everything was torn apart. Walls ripped open. Floors melted, like something had eaten the vessel from the inside out. Sir, we're detecting a structure ahead, the navigator announced. It's a human station, small, maybe 300 people. Rek studied the readings. The station had minimal defenses, just a few old weapons. It seemed harmless. This is too easy, Rek muttered. Orders, sir? Asked the tactical officer. Rek thought about the 7 fleets, about the old trader's warning, about the footage. Every instinct screamed danger, but he had his mission. Battle formation. Approach the station. Weapons ready. The fleet moved forward. 500 warships advancing on one small station. It should have been simple. Quick, clean. The human station didn't move. Didn't fight. Didn't even raise its shields. Then every screen in Rek's command center flickered. A message appeared in perfect galactic standard language. Welcome, Commander Rek. We've been expecting you. Before anyone could react, the lights went out. Every ship, every system, 500 warships floating blind in the darkness of space. In that moment, Rek finally understood. They weren't the hunters, they were the prey. The trap, the darkness lasted only 10 seconds. But for Commander Rek, it felt like an eternity. When the emergency lights flickered back on, the command center erupted in chaos. Report! Rek shouted over the noise. Main power is down. The engineer called out. Backup systems are active, but they're unstable. Weapons? Offline, sir. Communications? Dead. We can't reach any other ships in the fleet. Rek's blood ran cold. 500 warships, all disconnected. All vulnerable. This was exactly how the other fleets had died. Get me visual on the fleet, he ordered. The main screen activated, showing the space around them. Rek's ships floated helplessly in formation. Their running lights blinked erratically. Some vessels were completely dark. Sir, I'm detecting movement, the scanner officer said, his voice trembling. Small craft, dozens of them. They're approaching from all directions. Show me. The display zoomed in. Rek saw them now. Tiny human ships no bigger than fighter craft. They moved with impossible speed, weaving between his massive warships like insects around sleeping giants. Those can't be military vessels, General Cross said. They're too small. They have no visible weapons, but Rek remembered the footage. The Zelthian fleet destroying itself. They don't need weapons. Watch them carefully. The human ships darted closer. They didn't fire. They didn't attack. Instead, each small craft approached an alien warship and attached something to its hull. What are they doing? Cross demanded. I don't know, Rek admitted, but I don't like it. One by one, the human craft completed their task and vanished back into the darkness. The entire operation took less than 5 minutes. Then, silence returned. Sir, the devices they attached are active, the science officer reported. They're emitting some kind of signal. It's spreading through our hull plating. What kind of signal? Unknown. It's not electromagnetic. It's physical, like a vibration moving through the metal itself. Rek watched his screens carefully. Nothing seemed to be happening. His ship was still floating, still intact. Maybe the humans had failed. Maybe their weapon didn't work on his advanced shields. Then the screaming started. It began on Deck 7. The engineering crew reported strange sounds coming from the walls. Scratching, digging, like thousands of tiny claws. Scraping against metal. Send a security team, Rek ordered. Before the team could arrive, the walls started changing. The metal surface rippled like water. Small holes appeared, spreading like disease across the hull plating. What's causing this? Rek demanded. The science officer's face went pale as she studied her readings. Commander, those devices release something into our hull. They're machines. Microscopic machines. Millions of them. Nanomachines? Yes, sir. They're eating through our ship, consuming the metal and replicating themselves. And they're spreading fast. Rek's mind raced. This was the weapon. Not bombs or missiles, not energy beams. Tiny machines too small to see, turning his mighty warships into food. Can we stop them? I don't know, sir. They're multiplying faster than we can track. Every second there are more of them. Fire up the hull purge systems. Burn them out. The engineer shook his head. The purge systems run on the same power grid as our weapons. Everything's offline. Then fix it. We're trying, sir, but an explosion rocked the ship. Fred grabbed his command chair to steady himself. Report. Deck 7 just decompressed. The nanomachines ate through the hull. We're venting atmosphere. Seal that section. The blast doors won't close. The nanomachines have reached the control systems. More alarms blared across the bridge. Red lights flashed on the damage control display. Deck 8, Deck 9, Deck 12. The infection was spreading throughout the entire ship. Sir, I'm receiving emergency signals from the fleet, the communications officer said. Audio only. Our visual feeds are corrupted. Put it through. The speakers crackled with voices. Screaming, crying. Officers shouting orders that nobody could follow. Every ship in the fleet was dying the same way. The nanomachines are in the computer core. Someone yelled. They're rewriting our systems. Another voice. We've lost life support on half the ship. And another. They're taking control of our weapons. We can't. The transmission cut off with a burst of static. Vrek watched in horror as his fleet tore itself apart. Some ships tried to run. Their engines activated, burning at full power. But they had nowhere to go. The nanomachines had already infected their navigation systems. The ships spun wildly, crashing into each other. Other vessels tried to fight. Their weapons came back online, but not under their crew's control. The infected ships turned their guns on their sister vessels. Allies became enemies in seconds. Admiral Thrace is trying to ram the human station. Someone shouted. Vrek saw it on the display. One of his largest dreadnoughts, the Vengeance, was accelerating toward the small human outpost. If it hit, the explosion would destroy everything in the sector. But the Vengeance never reached its target. Halfway there, the ship simply fell apart. The nanomachines had consumed so much of its structure that it collapsed under its own thrust. Pieces of the mighty warship scattered across space like broken toys. Commander, the nanomachines have reached our bridge systems, the science officer reported. In approximately 3 minutes, we'll lose all control. Vrek looked around his command center. His crew stared at him, waiting for orders, waiting for their leader to save them. But what could he do? His weapons were useless. His shields meant nothing. His mighty fleet was already destroyed. Then the main screen activated on its own. A human appeared. Male, middle-aged, wearing a simple gray uniform with no decorations. He sat in a plain chair in what looked like an ordinary office. Behind him, Vrek could see a window showing stars and his own dying fleet. Commander Vrek, the human said calmly. My name is Captain Chen. We need to talk. You're destroying my fleet. Vrek roared. No, Chen replied. You're destroying your fleet. You attacked us. We're simply defending ourselves. We haven't fired a single shot. Chen smiled. It wasn't a cruel smile. It was almost sad. You pointed your weapons at our station. You entered our space with hostile intent. In human culture, that's called an attack. We don't wait for you to shoot first. Then why am I still alive? Why is my ship still functional? Because you're not our enemy, Commander. You're our student. Chen leaned forward. Every fleet that came here had the same plan. Approach with overwhelming force. Intimidate us into surrender. Then, when we refused, attack with everything you had. The human captain stood and walked to his window. You all thought the same way. Superior numbers, advanced weapons, victory through strength. He turned back to face Vrek. But you never asked the important question. Why did 7 fleets fail? What were they missing? Vrek said nothing. He watched as more of his ships died on the display behind Chen. They were missing imagination. Chen continued. You species conquered your enemies the same way for thousands of years. Bigger ships, better weapons, stronger shields. You all follow the same rules of warfare. And humans don't. Humans invented the rules, Chen said quietly. Then we broke them. Then we made new ones. We've been fighting each other on Earth for 10,000 years. We learned every possible way to win. Deception, sabotage, psychological warfare. We mastered them all because if we didn't, we died. The captain touched a control panel. The display changed, showing footage of previous alien fleets. Vrek saw the Draken Empire's ships, the Zelthian Armada. All of them dying the same way his fleet was dying now. "You're not the first to underestimate us," Chen said. "And I doubt you'll be the last. But I'm going to give you something the others didn't get. A choice." "What choice?" "Your ship is the only one we haven't fully infected. We can stop the nanomachines right now, save you and your crew. But everyone else," Chen gestured to the dying fleet, "they're already gone. Why would you save me?" "Because someone needs to go home and tell the truth," Chen replied. "Someone needs to warn the galaxy what happens when you fight humanity." Rek looked at his crew. Young officers who trusted him, engineers who had families waiting at home, soldiers who had never imagined dying like this. "And if I refuse?" Captain Chen's expression didn't change. "Then in 90 seconds the nanomachines will reach your bridge. Your ship will join the others, and we'll find someone else to deliver our message." Rek's hand hovered over the self-destruct control. He could end this now. Take his ship down with honor, rather than accept defeat. But then he thought about the 7 fleets, the thousands of warriors who died because nobody understood the threat. If he died here, the galaxy would send more fleets, more soldiers, more deaths. "What do you want me to tell them?" Rek asked quietly. Chen smiled again. "Tell them the truth. Tell them what happens when you fight humanity. And tell them something else." "What?" "We're always recruiting." The screen went dark. A moment later, the alarm stopped. The nanomachines stopped spreading. Rek's ship stabilized, but around him, the rest of his fleet continued to die. 500 ships reduced to scrap and silence. Rek sat in his command chair and watched. He watched his friends die. His comrades, his warriors, all because they had underestimated a species they thought was primitive. As the last ship exploded, Rek made a decision. He would return home. He would deliver the message, and the galaxy would never be the same. The lesson commander Rek stood alone on his bridge, surrounded by the wreckage of his fleet. The space around him looked like a graveyard. Twisted metal floated in every direction. 500 proud warships reduced to debris and corpses. His crew worked in silence. Nobody spoke. Nobody made eye contact. They all knew the truth. They had survived because the humans allowed it. Not because they were strong. Not because they were clever. Because humanity chose mercy over victory. "Sir, incoming transmission," the communications officer said quietly. "It's from the human station." Rek straightened in his chair. "Put it through." Captain Chen appeared on the screen again. But this time he wasn't alone. Behind him stood other humans in military uniforms. And behind them, Rek saw something that made his blood freeze. Aliens, dozens of them. Different species, all wearing human military uniforms. "Surprised, Commander?" Chen asked, noticing Rek's expression. "Let me introduce you to some friends. This is Lieutenant Chorus. He was a Draken warrior. This is Engineer Zell. She served in the Zelthian Armada. And this is Medical Officer Trath. He commanded one of your own fleet's support vessels." Rek recognized Trath, a young officer from his medical corps. He had been on one of the ships that died. "You're alive," Vrek whispered. Trath nodded. "Yes, Commander. The humans saved us. Saved many of us, but I watched your ship explode. I saw it." "You saw what we wanted you to see," Chen interrupted. "The nanomachines didn't kill everyone, Commander. They disabled the ships, created chaos, made you think you were watching your fleet die. But we transported most of the crews to safety before the final destructions." Rek felt his legs weaken. "Why? Why save them just to destroy their ships?" "Because we needed to teach you a lesson," Chen replied. "And the lesson required belief. You had to believe your fleet was truly destroyed. You had to feel the weight of that loss." The human captain walked closer to the camera. "Do you know what your mistake was, Commander? You thought this was about winning, but this was never a battle. This was a test. A test of what? Of whether you could learn. Of whether you could see beyond your own assumptions." Chen gestured to the alien standing behind him. "Every species that has attacked us made the same error. You all believed that military strength equals victory. You never considered that victory might not require fighting at all." Another human officer stepped forward. This one was older, with gray hair and deep scars across his face. "I'm Admiral Zhang. I fought in the Earth Unification Wars, 30 years of combat between human nations. We learned something important during those decades of blood." "What did you learn?" Freg asked. "That the winner isn't the one who destroys the most enemies. The winner is the one who turns enemies into allies." Zhang nodded to Chen, who touched his control panel. The main screen split into multiple displays. Each one showed footage of previous alien fleets approaching human space. The Draken Empire came first, Chen explained. 200 ships. They demanded our surrender within 1 hour. We disabled their fleet in 45 minutes. The footage showed Dracon vessels going dark, just like Rex ships had. The Zelthian Armada came next. 300 ships. They didn't bother with demands. They just attacked. We stopped them in 30 minutes. More footage. More disabled ships. More chaos. Then came the Korthan Collective. The Vex Dominion. The Thraxian Empire. 5 different species. 5 different fleets. All with the same plan. All with the same result. Chen turned back to face Rek directly. And now you. The largest fleet ever assembled. The best technology from 12 species. Gone in less than an hour. You could have killed us all, Rex said quietly. Yes, Chen agreed. But what would that accomplish? You'd become martyrs. The galaxy would unite against us. More fleets would come, bigger, angrier. The cycle would continue until everyone was dead. Admiral Zhang stepped forward again. Humans fought each other for 10,000 years, Commander. We tried every strategy, conquest, genocide, total war. And you know what we discovered? None of it works. You can destroy your enemies, but their children will hate you. Their allies will fear you. Victory through violence only creates more violence. So what's your strategy? Vrek demanded. How do you win? By changing the game, Chen replied simply. We don't beat our enemies. We convince them they don't need to be enemies anymore. The screen changed again. This time Rex saw something different. Human cities. Alien visitors walking freely through streets. Mixed species working together in laboratories. Children of different races playing in parks. This is Earth, Chen explained. And our colonies. Draken engineers help build our ships now. Zelthian scientists work in our research stations. Every species that attacked us eventually joined us. Joined you. Vrek couldn't believe it. They surrendered. No, Chen said firmly. Surrender implies defeat. Implies shame. We offered them something better. Partnership. Equality. A chance to be part of something greater than themselves. Trath stepped forward on the screen. Commander, when the humans captured my ship, I expected execution. Or slavery. Instead, they gave me medical treatment, food, respect. They explained why we lost. They showed me their technology, their tactics, their history. The young officer's voice grew stronger. They didn't treat me like a prisoner. They treated me like a student. And when they offered me a choice, return home or stay and learn, I chose to stay. But why? Vrek asked. Why betray your own people? I'm not betraying anyone, Treth replied. I'm trying to save them. The humans are right, Commander. Our way of thinking is outdated. We measure strength in weapons and chips, but humans measure strength in knowledge and adaptation, and they're willing to share that strength with anyone wise enough to accept it. Chen walked to his window, looking out at the debris field. Commander Vrek, we're going to give you another choice now. A bigger one. What choice? You can take your damaged ship and return to the Galactic Council. Tell them what happened here. Warn them about human capabilities. That's option 1. And option 2, stay here for 1 week. Let us show you what we really are. See our cities. Meet our people. Talk to the warriors from other species who chose to join us. Learn our history. Understand our tactics. Then after 7 days, make your decision. Return home with just a warning, or return home with the whole truth. Vrek looked at his crew. They were listening to every word. Some looked afraid. Others looked curious. Why would you reveal your secrets to me? Vrek asked. Because secrets don't keep you safe, Admiral Zhang answered. Fear keeps you safe, and you're already afraid of us. Now we need you to understand us, because understanding leads to respect, and respect leads to peace. Chen turned back to the camera. Every fleet that came here learned the same lesson you're learning now. Humans don't fight fair. We don't follow your rules. We use psychology, technology, patience. We fight wars before they start by making our enemies question why they're fighting at all. That's manipulation, Vrek said. Yes, Chen agreed without shame. It is, just like your overwhelming force is intimidation, just like your weapons are threats. Everyone manipulates. Everyone uses psychology. We're just better at it because we've had more practice. The human captain's expression softened. But here's what makes us different. We don't just manipulate. We also offer truth, real friendship, genuine partnership. The species that join us don't do it because we force them. They do it because they realize we're offering something their own governments never could. And what's that? A future where their children don't have to die in pointless wars. Freck felt something break inside him. He thought about the young officers on his bridge, the engineers on Deck 7 who had died screaming, the thousands of warriors across his fleet who would never see home again, all because the Galactic Council sent them to fight an enemy they didn't understand. "Show me," Rex said quietly. "Show you what? Everything. Your cities, your people, your history. I want to understand how you think, how you plan, how you turned warfare into this." Chen smiled. "Good. We have a transport ship ready. Bring 10 of your officers with you. Choose people you trust, people who will report honestly to your council about what they see." "And my damaged ship? My remaining crew? They'll be repaired and cared for. We have engineers standing by. Your wounded will receive medical treatment. Your dead," Chen paused. "Your dead will be honored. We'll prepare them for proper burial according to your customs." Vrek nodded slowly. "When do we begin?" "Immediately. There's much to show you, Commander, and only 7 days to show it." 3 hours later, Rex stood in a human transport ship, heading toward Earth. He had chosen his officers carefully. General Cross, his science officer, his chief engineer, 7 others who represented different aspects of his command. As they descended through Earth's atmosphere, Rex looked out the window. He saw cities that stretched for hundreds of miles, ships from a dozen different species in the sky, oceans and forests and mountains. "Beautiful, isn't it?" Captain Chen said, standing beside him. "I expected military fortresses," Rex admitted. "Weapons platforms, defense grids, we have those too," Chen replied. "But they're hidden, camouflaged. Humans learned long ago that the best defenses are the ones your enemies don't know exist." The transport landed in a city called New Shanghai. As Rex stepped out, he saw something that shocked him more than any weapon. Thousands of aliens walking freely through the streets. Draken, Zelthian, Korthan, Thraxian. Species that had been at war with each other for centuries. All living together, working together, laughing together. "How is this possible?" Vrek whispered. Chen put a hand on his shoulder. "Because we showed them what you're about to learn, Commander. The most powerful weapon humans ever created isn't a bomb or a virus or a fleet of ships." "Then what is it?" Captain Chen smiled. "Hope. The belief that tomorrow can be better than today. And we're very, very good at making people believe." Vrek looked at the city around him, at the aliens who had once been enemies now living in peace, at the humans who had defeated him without firing a shot. And for the first time since entering human space, he felt something other than fear. He felt curious. The lesson had truly begun. The return 7 days had passed like 7 minutes. Commander Vrek stood in the transport bay preparing to leave Earth. But he was not the same commander who had arrived. His eyes had seen too much. His mind had learned too much. And his heart had changed in ways he never expected. Captain Chen approached with a data chip in his hand. "Everything we showed you is recorded here. The cities, the technology, the interviews with other species. All of it." Vrek took the chip carefully. "The council won't believe me. They'll say the recordings are fake. That you manipulated me. Probably," Chen agreed. "That's why we're sending proof they can't deny." "What proof?" Chen gestured toward the landing pad. Vrek looked and saw 10 human ships waiting, small vessels, unarmed, with white markings on their hulls. "Diplomatic ships," Chen explained. "They'll follow you back to your capital. When you present your evidence to the council, our ambassadors will be there to answer questions." "You're sending diplomats into council space? That's dangerous. Some species will try to capture them, study their technology." "Let them try," Chen said with a slight smile. "Those ships have the same nanomachine defenses as our military vessels. Anyone who attacks them will learn the same lesson you learned." Vrek's officers had already boarded his damaged ship. They stood at the windows, looking back at Earth one final time. Like Vrek, they had been changed by what they witnessed. General Cross had toured human military academies. He watched young soldiers training not just in combat, but in diplomacy, psychology, and cultural studies. "They teach their warriors to think like scholars," Cross had told Vrek. and their scholars to think like warriors. Every human is both. The science officer had visited research facilities where human and alien scientists worked side by side. Their technology isn't actually superior to ours, she had reported, but they combine it in ways we never imagined. They think sideways. They solve problems by changing the question. The chief engineer had been most impressed by human infrastructure. Everything is redundant. Everything has backup systems. They build for survival, not for show. A human city can operate for months, even if half its systems fail. But what affected Rek most wasn't the technology or the military tactics. It was something simpler, something human. On his third day, Chen had taken him to a school. Not a military academy, just an ordinary school where human children learned. Watch them, Chen had said. Vrek observed the young humans. They were studying Earth history, learning about the wars their ancestors had fought, the mistakes they had made, the millions who had died. Why teach children about failure? Vrek had asked. Because failure is the best teacher, Chen replied. These children learn about the atomic wars, the environmental disasters, the genocides and the rebellions. They learn that humans nearly destroyed themselves 3 different times. Doesn't that make them afraid? No, it makes them careful. They understand that survival isn't guaranteed, that every generation must choose between wisdom and destruction. That peace requires constant work. One small human girl had raised her hand. Teacher, why did our ancestors keep fighting, even when they knew it was destroying the planet? The teacher smiled sadly. Because they didn't know how to stop. They didn't have the tools we have now. They didn't understand psychology or game theory or conflict resolution. But they learned, and they taught us, so we would never make the same mistakes. Vrek had watched the children absorb this lesson, seen them understand, and he realized something profound. Humans didn't just prepare for war. They prepared for peace. Every child was taught how to recognize conflict before it started, how to find compromise, how to see the world through enemy eyes. We train warriors, Vrek had whispered. You train peacemakers who can fight if they must. Yes, Chen had agreed. That's exactly right. Now standing in the transport bay, Rek looked at Chen one more time. Why did you really do this? Why show me everything? Because isolation is temporary, Chen answered. Eventually the galaxy will accept us or destroy us. We prefer acceptance, but we needed someone from the council who would tell the truth, not just report our military strength, but explain our philosophy, our goals, our dreams. And you think I'll convince them? I think you'll try, and that's all we ask. Vrek boarded his ship. The engines activated. As they lifted off from Earth, he looked down at the planet one final time. Blue and green and beautiful. A world that had survived its own self-destruction and emerged stronger. Could the galaxy learn the same lesson? The journey home took 4 weeks. During that time, Rek watched the recordings constantly. He studied every detail, prepared his presentation, anticipated every question the council would ask. His officers did the same. They knew their testimony would determine the galaxy's future. War or peace, destruction or cooperation. Everything depended on making the council understand. Do you think they'll listen? General Cross asked one evening. Vrek considered the question carefully. Some will, others won't. Pride is a difficult thing to overcome. Admitting that we were wrong, that we underestimated humanity, requires humility that many leaders lack. Then what do? We tell the truth, and we hope the truth is enough. They arrived at Zentris Prime, capital world of the Galactic Council, on a clear morning. News of their survival had already spread across the galaxy. The only ship to return from the human death zone, the only commander to face humanity and live. But the rumors were confused. Some said the humans had shown mercy. Others claimed Vrek had betrayed his fleet to save himself. Nobody knew the real story. The council chambers were packed. Representatives from 40 different species filled the arena. At the center sat the High Council, 12 leaders who governed galactic affairs. Chancellor Drex, a massive draken with scars covering his scales, spoke first. Commander Rek, you departed with 500 ships. You return with 1, explain. Rek stood in the witness circle. The eyes of the galaxy watched him. The fleet was destroyed by humans, using weapons and tactics we have never encountered before. The chamber erupted in angry voices. Some leaders shouted accusations. Others demanded immediate retaliation. Silence, Chancellor Drex roared. The room quieted. Continue, Commander. The humans didn't destroy us with superior firepower, Rek explained. They used nanomachines, microscopic devices that infected our ships and disabled all systems. Within an hour, the entire fleet was neutralized. Coward, someone shouted. You abandoned your warriors. I watched them die, Rek said quietly. Every single one. The humans showed me no mercy during the battle. But afterward, he paused. Afterward, they showed me something more valuable than mercy. They showed me truth. He activated the holographic display. Images filled the chamber. Human cities, alien residents, mixed species working together. These are the warriors from the previous fleets, Freck explained. The ones we thought were dead. The humans saved them, offered them a choice. Return home or stay and learn. Traitors, someone muttered. No, Rex said firmly. Survivors and teachers. They learned what humans really are, what they really want, and what do they want? Chancellor Drex asked. Peace, but not the peace we understand. Not the absence of war. Humans want something they call sustainable peace. Peace built on mutual benefit, on shared goals, on the understanding that cooperation creates more value than conquest. A Zelthian counselor stood up. This sounds like propaganda. How do we know you weren't manipulated? That these recordings aren't fabricated? Because we brought proof you can verify, Vrek replied. He nodded to his officers. They activated their datapads simultaneously. Technical specifications appeared on every screen in the chamber. Nanomachine designs, defensive systems, tactical algorithms. Humans gave us this information freely, Vrek explained. Detailed technical data about the weapons they used against us. They're not afraid of us knowing how they fight, because understanding their tactics doesn't help unless you understand their strategy. Explain, Drex demanded. Human warfare isn't about winning battles, Rex said. It's about ending wars. They don't destroy enemies. They transform them. Every species that has fought humanity has eventually joined them. Not through force, through choice. Impossible, the Zelthian counselor scoffed. No species would voluntarily surrender their sovereignty. They don't, General Cross interjected, stepping forward. I toured their alliance structure. Member species maintain complete autonomy, their own governments, their own laws, their own military forces. Humanity doesn't conquer. They coordinate, the science officer added her testimony. Their technology is based on integration, not domination. They share research freely, combine the best innovations from every species. A Draken engineer invented their latest shield system. A Zelthian scientist developed their medical nanomachines. Humans don't claim superiority. They claim collaboration. This is madness, someone shouted. They defeated our fleets, killed our warriors, and you're suggesting we join them? I'm suggesting we have two choices, Rex said calmly. Option 1, send more fleets, bigger, better armed, and watch them fail just like ours did, because humans don't win through strength. They win through thinking, and they've been thinking about warfare for 10,000 years while we were busy conquering weaker species. He paused, letting his words sink in. Option 2, do what I did, learn, understand, see what they're really building, and then decide if joining that vision serves our interest better than fighting against it. Chancellor Drex leaned forward. You're asking the Council to trust a species that destroyed 7 fleets? No, Vrek replied. I'm asking the Council to be wise enough to recognize when traditional thinking no longer works. Humans aren't like any enemy we've faced. They don't fight to win territory. They fight to win minds, and they're very, very good at it. The chamber fell silent. Every leader considered Rek's words. Some faces showed anger. Others showed fear. A few showed curiosity. There's one more thing, Rek added. The humans sent representatives. They're waiting outside. They want to address the Council directly. Absolutely not, the Zelthian counselor shouted. We will not allow enemy combatants into these chambers. They're unarmed, Rek assured. Small diplomatic vessels, no weapons, no shields. They came here peacefully. It's a trick, someone warned. Chancellor Drex raised his hand for silence. He stared at Rek for a long moment. Then surprisingly he smiled. It wasn't a friendly smile. It was the smile of someone recognizing a worthy opponent. Let them in, Drex said. I want to see these humans who think they can change the galaxy." The chamber doors opened. Captain Chen walked in, flanked by 2 other human officers. They wore simple gray uniforms. No weapons, no guards. Just 3 humans walking into a room filled with species that had tried to destroy them. Chen stopped at the center circle. He bowed respectfully to the council. "Honored leaders, thank you for seeing us. You have destroyed our fleets," Chancellor Drex said. "Why should we listen to anything you say?" "Because, Chancellor, we didn't come here to talk about the past. We came here to talk about the future. Your future, our future, the galaxy's future." Chen activated his own holographic display. But unlike Rex's technical data, Chen showed something different. Children, from every species, human, Draken, Zelthian, all playing together, learning together, growing up together. "This is what we're building," Chen said simply. "A galaxy where our children don't inherit our wars. Where cooperation replaces conquest. Where the next generation is smarter than ours because they learn from everyone, not just their own kind." He turned to face every counselor in turn. "You can fight us. Send your fleets. We'll defeat them. Not because we want to, but because we've prepared for every possible attack. We've studied you. We understand your tactics, your weaknesses, your fears." The chamber stirred uneasily. "Or," Chen continued, "you can talk to us, learn from us. Let us learn from you. Build something together that's stronger than anything any single species could create alone." "And if we refuse?" Drex asked. "Then nothing changes. You continue fighting each other. We continue defending ourselves. And in 100 years, we'll still be having this same conversation. Except by then, more species will have joined us voluntarily. And your position will be weaker," Chen smiled. "We're patient, Chancellor. We're good at waiting. Humans waited 10,000 years to leave Earth. We can wait a few more decades for the galaxy to catch up to what we already understand." "And what's that?" Drex growled. "That survival requires evolution. Not biological evolution, philosophical evolution. The species that survives isn't the strongest or the most numerous. It's the one most willing to adapt, to change, to learn." Captain Chen gestured toward Vrek. Commander Vrek adapted. He came to Earth expecting enemies. He found teachers. He came looking for weakness. He found strength. He came to understand our weapons. He learned our wisdom. Chen turned back to the council. "The question isn't whether humanity is strong enough to survive in this galaxy. We've already proven that. The question is whether you're wise enough to recognize that strength comes in many forms, and that together we could all be stronger." The chamber fell silent. Every leader looked at Chen, then at Rek, then at each other. Finally, Chancellor Drex stood up. "The council will deliberate. Captain Chen, you and your delegation will remain on Zentris Prime as guests, not prisoners, guests, while we consider your proposal." "Thank you, Chancellor," Chen said. "That's all we ask, a chance." As the human delegation left, Rex saw something in the councillors' faces. The anger was still there, the fear, but underneath something else. Curiosity, hope, the beginning of change. It wasn't victory. Not yet. But it was a start, and as humans had taught him, sometimes starting the conversation was the most important battle of all. The new era. 3 months had passed since Captain Chen addressed the Galactic Council. 3 months of debate, argument, and negotiation. The galaxy held its breath, waiting to see what would happen next. Commander Vrek stood in his quarters on Zentris Prime, watching the news feeds from across the galaxy. The reports were mixed. Some species praised the Council's decision to talk with humanity. Others called it weakness. A few aggressive empires threatened to attack Earth, regardless of what the Council decided. But the most interesting news came from an unexpected source. The Corthan Collective, one of the species whose fleet had been destroyed by humanity, had made an announcement. They were sending a delegation to Earth, not to fight, to learn. "It's starting," General Cross said, entering Rex quarters. "Other species are making the same choice we did." "Not everyone," Rek replied. "The Vex Dominion is mobilizing their fleet. They're planning a massive assault on human space. 3,000 ships." Cross shook his head. "They're making a mistake. Haven't they learned anything?" "Pride is a powerful drug," Rex said quietly. "The Vex believe their technology is superior. They think they can succeed where others failed. Should we warn them? We already did. They didn't listen. Before Cross could respond, an alert flashed across Rex's communication panel. Emergency council session. All representatives required immediately. The council chambers were in chaos when Rex arrived. Councillors shouted at each other. Some demanded immediate action. Others called for patience. In the center of it all, Chancellor Drek sat silently, watching the madness with calculating eyes. Order, Drex finally roared. The chamber quieted. Captain Chen has requested an emergency address. Given the circumstances, I've granted permission. Chen walked into the chamber, but this time he wasn't alone. Behind him came Admiral Zhang and a third human Rex didn't recognize. This one was older, with white hair and kind eyes. She wore civilian clothes, not a military uniform. Honored Council, Chen began. I'll be direct. The Vex Dominion is preparing to attack Earth. 3,000 ships. The largest fleet ever assembled in galactic history. The chamber erupted again. Some voices shouted approval. Others expressed concern. A few demanded that the Council intervene. We know about this threat. Chen continued calmly. We've been monitoring their preparations for weeks. And we've made a decision. What decision? Chancellor Drex asked. We're not going to fight them. Silence fell across the chamber. Everyone stared at Chen in disbelief. Explain, Drex demanded. Admiral Zhang stepped forward. The Vex fleet will arrive at Earth in approximately 10 days. When they do, they'll find our defensive platforms offline. Our military vessels withdrawn. Our cities completely undefended. You're surrendering? Someone asked incredulously. No, the white-haired woman said, speaking for the first time. We're teaching. Chen gestured to her. This is Dr. Sarah Chen, my mother, and humanity's leading expert in game theory and conflict resolution. She's designed what we're calling Operation Understanding. Dr. Chen activated a holographic display. Instead of showing weapons or battle plans, it showed a school. When the Vex fleet arrives, she explained, they'll find Earth's defenses lowered. They'll assume we're weak, defeated. They'll land their forces expecting easy conquest. And then, Drex asked, and then they'll meet our real defense, Dr. Chen said with a slight smile. Not weapons, not soldiers, people, regular humans and aliens living normal lives, working, learning, raising families, building things. I don't understand, a counselor admitted. The Vex have never seen a truly integrated society, Dr. Chen explained. They've never walked through a city where 10 different species live in harmony. They've never talked to soldiers from their own previous fleets who now choose to stay with humanity. She changed the display, showing detailed plans. We're going to invite every Vex soldier to tour our cities, visit our schools, meet our people. We're going to show them what they're actually trying to destroy. That's insane, the Zelthian counselor protested. They'll kill your civilians, destroy your cities. Maybe, Dr. Chen admitted. It's a risk. But we've studied the Vex psychology extensively. They're not cruel. They're not evil. They're afraid. They see humanity as a threat to their way of life, to their culture, to their identity. Captain Chen picked up the explanation. The Vex believe that integrating with other species means losing themselves. We need to show them that integration doesn't erase identity. It enhances it. And if you're wrong? Drex asked quietly. If they attack anyway? Admiral Zhang answered. Then we defend ourselves. We have contingencies, hidden defenses, evacuation plans. We're not suicidal, but we believe that giving peace a real chance is worth the risk. You're gambling with millions of lives, someone said. Yes, Dr. Chen agreed. Just like the Vex are gambling with the lives of their soldiers. Just like this council gambled when it sent fleets to fight us. Everyone gambles. The question is what you're gambling for. We're gambling for something better. Chancellor Drex stood up slowly. This is madness, but... He paused, and Drex saw something unexpected in the old warrior's eyes. Respect. It's also brave. Braver than any battle strategy I've ever heard. The Chancellor looked around the chamber. The Council will not interfere. This is humanity's choice. But we will be watching. And if the Vex commit atrocities, the full weight of the Council will fall upon them.